Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the last day of the TDI conference. Whew, this whole week we've had different events, and today I'm looking forward to getting into gaming. And we're going to have 3 panelists join us today. And before we turn it over and do our introductions, I'm going to do a visual description of myself. I'm a female. I'm biracial, brown skin, brown hair that's long. I'm using a blue shirt with a gray jacket. I am really excited to have these 3 presenters join us today. So we have Wendy Dannels, Mary Kyle, and Brannis Robinson. And they are from Gamers TV. And all 3 of you if you don't mind just going up and putting on your videos and doing your introductions.
Sure, I can hop in. My name is Mari Kyle, and I am a game producer at Oculus Studios at Facebook. And I'm really excited to be here. A lot of my work deals with accessibility in games, and previous to being a game producer, I was on the store operations team where I reviewed games to make sure that they were fit for publishing on Quest and Go. I can do a visual description as well. I am a female. I have brown hair and am wearing a denim button-up shirt. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Hi, thank you, Mary. Wendy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Wendy Dannels, and I'm in the research facility at RIT, one of the colleges at NTID, at the Center of Culture and Language. I am a female. I have white skin. I have dark brown hair. I'm wearing a short sleeve gray polo with the orange lettering RIT on the shirt. And thank you for inviting me here today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Chris. Hi, this is Chris. I'm on Deaf Gamer TV. So my brand is Deaf Accessibility on Games. So we're talking about captioning in games or videos. Also, I graduated from RIT. I believe it was in 2006. That was back in the day. So it's nice to see you all here.
Right here. Thank you for joining us today. So I would like to start by asking Chris, you and your friend have created this video, and it's a wonderful video. So before we show that video, I wanted to ask you just real quickly for a discussion here about your experience as a deaf gamer and what you've confronted and what challenges you've had regarding accessibilities. So just share a brief experience about that before we share your video.
Absolutely, yeah. So I grew up playing games since I was 3, and I started with playing Mario 3, and I saw my brothers playing that, and I was really wanting to know what was going on. At the time, I was the only deaf person in my family, so nobody signed. So there wasn't a lot of communication that was going on in the family in those earlier days. So I was like, oh, it's cool, and I liked it. I started to really like gaming. It doesn't really require a lot of social needs. So as far as communicating within the game, you just play it, and I enjoyed myself. And now, ever since gaming has changed, especially with technology, you can play with other people online. And the biggest barrier that we see with deaf gamers is communication. Of course, accessibility is what you can see on the screen. Like some games have audio cues, but being deaf, how do I know what's going on with the audio cues? I'm just going through the game, walking around and not picking up on those cues. So I started this thing called Deaf Gamers TV, and I wanted to show the experience, what it's like as a deaf gamer, and some of the struggles that we deal with gaming while other people can enjoy gaming. And it feels like it's not fair. So I wanted to show everybody how it feels emotionally for the game developers to take a look at this and start realizing about things that they may not have understood of, and they could see the deaf perspective when it comes to gaming.
My here. And I had one more question I'd like to ask before we show that video. I'm curious, would you mind sharing your experience in regard to communicating with hearing gamers? How do y'all communicate? What are some tips for other gamers to use for communicating with other hearing gamers?
Yeah, so with hanging out with hearing people and my friends and a variety of other people, most of the time there may be barriers, right? Because deaf people, you don't want to, maybe some hearing people may not want to cooperate with you. They feel like it's so much work or they have to type some things out and all of this other stuff. So what I typically do is I'll just use Skype for chat and we'll do that. And then they have this new thing called Discord. And that's like, it's a better version of Skype. So you can get on there in Discord, you can do video chats, you can chat through text using DM. There's some other things too. And now there's speech to text and text to speech type of things. So if I'm playing with some hearing friends, if they speak, it'll actually do speech to text. So I could read it in English or whatever you're using in that setting. So most of my friends they'll type for me because they'll do the speech to text. Because even if I use my hearing aid, it's not really clear. And I don't want to keep interrupting people saying, what, every time they say something. I know that could it could just interfere with enjoying the game. So now when I type with my friends, I'll look over and sometimes they'll, say something that I wanted to say, but they'll say it to the other teammates for me. It doesn't always happen that way. So there's still common barriers that we still have in place. But yeah, those are some tips that if you're playing with hearing gamers, if they're willing to type, that's the best way to communicate, unless they know sign. If they can sign and we can understand each other, that's so much easier.
May here. Gotcha. So before we show that video, I wanted to ask Mari if you have anything to add about the experience of playing the game. Later on, we're going to talk about your individual work, but just experience on gaming. Is there anything that you, Mari, or you, Wendy, wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I'd love to add here. For gaming in particular, there are things that you can do as a game developer that will improve the experience for people who need accessibility features and people who maybe do not usually need accessibility features but can still benefit from them. So for me in particular, I actually had suffered from a traumatic brain injury a few years ago, which means that for me, I use captions and I use visual cues for sound in order to parse situations quickly. Like if I'm getting attacked by multiple enemies, it takes me all these visual cues to really understand what's going on. And that's completely different problem than what, deaf or hard of hearing players have. But still, in adding these visual cues, game developers can level the playing field and make it better for both of us to play the game, rather than just improving experience for one group or just improving for the other. And so these accessibility features become, in general, just good design principles. Making accessible games is not this extra mysterious way of game designing. It's just good game design, and it's just a way to make the experience better for everybody.
Right. Awesome. Wendy.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one other example that we can all consider. There are many organizations and associations that advocate accessibility for the deaf and hard of hearing and other people who are disabled, and they're wonderful. But specifically related to gaming, there's something that's called Abled Gamer, and there's a website where I think there's over 3,000 members that's on there, and they're all advocating, they're all active in there. And actually, if you go to, there's an interesting card where it forces the web developer or the people who develop games to consider disabled people, thinking about what kind of controls you have to include, or they just ask questions. Did you think about the audio? Did you think of something that's related to anything to do with the hands? And if you read it's like a scorecard. You read it, they check out the box, and they make sure that they do everything. One example, using the scorecard is one way that we can promote people to become part of an inclusive community.
Chris, yeah, I totally agree. May here, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And in the chat, we just posted the link so you can go and check it out at that website. Okay, so I would like to go ahead and share that video that Chris and his friend Brandon have created. It's a wonderful video, so here we go.
All right, hope everyone enjoys it. Okay, so we're going to turn off all the cameras and then we'll show the video.
Many people don't often think that they'll meet a deaf person who doesn't speak, especially during gaming. There's a lot of confusion when a deaf person speaks, meaning they can hear, which isn't true. Zero and I will show you how we play games while communicating. There's no need for headphones or a mic, and we'll show you how. June last month, there was a game called Operation Tango. It was free to download for PS5 using PlayStation Plus's subscription. And I was reading the game on the PlayStation Store, and I saw that it so happened that the game required online co-op only and requires the use of a microphone. And this could be very misleading, meaning that the game isn't for people who can't speak. The deaf community constantly has to remind people that not everyone speaks playing games or playing multiplayer games. So it's very important to avoid advertising games in this way, to be more accurate as possible while still keeping in mind that not everyone is able to use a mic. It's always really important just to keep that in the back of your mind. So go right, 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 right. Go left, left, left. Up, 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 right, right. Left, left, left. Up, 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 up. Yep, up. Left. And right. Oh, dang it. Okay, well, at least we're getting better. And this is Chris giving 0 directions on the screen and a sped up. CX to X, given directions, instructions on the game. Chris, I'm actually impressed with this game. All right, mission accomplished. So hopefully our demonstration on how we were able to communicate in that game, which said that it required a microphone, just for us to clearly show that it doesn't always work, because not all deaf people sign or may know signs from a different country. And that's right. ASL isn't the only sign language in the world. There's different sign languages out there that exist. Let's look at a different way to communicate in games without a mic. It can be visual communication like ping, where you can pinpoint on a map or location in the game so your teammate will know where to go and what's there. So in the game, Rainbow Six Siege, whenever you ping something, let's say a trap, it'll show a small icon to let your teammate know what's actually there so that they can be careful before proceeding. Now there's so many more games that are starting to use this ping, uh, like games called Apex Legends, Fortnite, MMO games, shooters, and many more. So hopefully ping in games will be a standard feature in games moving forward. You know that some games have emotes. For example, in Destiny 2, if you're too busy to type down and tell what your team to do, and you don't have the time, you can use emotes to show the name of something to do. It can be very helpful of interacting and telling someone what to do. So please, for developers, remember how we read text, but we also need something to help us read it more comfortably. For example, the text background or text outline, so that players can choose which they would prefer out of the two. If you don't have either, then the player would have to look for it in a dark place to read the text to be able to see the contrast. And not all games show text during emotes like Destiny. They don't have anything. For example, like Division 2 has emotes, but you have to look at the other player to be able to see what emotes they're actually using. And when there's no text in there, when they use that emote, there's no text, so you have to actually look at them. So it's a good idea to include a visual asset like text showing up, like in Destiny does when they use emotes. Another way is to have a quick chat or chat shortcut option, meaning with a touch of a button, you're able to send your message a lot faster. And that saves a lot of time communicating with your friends or teammates instead of having to type out a long message. Text chat and games are more common on PC. Since current and last gen consoles can use keyboards, we should make text chat mandatory if they are planning on adding voice chat if possible. This way it would be more fair for people who want to communicate in teams. Text chat is very helpful when people, for example, don't want to use a headphone. They're able to use the text chat feature instead. It's a more preferred way to communicate, especially when you're playing MMO games. The deaf community relies heavily on text chat and video chat to be able to communicate with each other. It's crucially important. In addition to talking about text chat, we also have speech to text and text to speech. It's slowly being added to more and more games right now, to where you're able to speak to your team, and then we'll have a speak to text box that will show up, sometimes in the chat box as well, although it's not always accurate due to some people having different accents with their voices. But we are hoping that it will continue to improve and find a way to make it more accurate. Text to speech, on the other hand, is where you type in a chat and it'll speak for you in the party chat where people are using headphones and mics to communicate. I think the only issue is people complaining that it sounds too robotic to others for the speech or text to speech chat. Well, for us, it's important that we want them to understand us. And if they don't want to use the chat, well, then, sometimes you'll meet someone who finds this as hassle and isn't willing to cooperate and help you and help each other. And this is a pretty common issue with communicating. Maybe those features would help us not be kicked out from a team just for not having a mic and not wanting to be included in that team. So this is what we've been struggling with, especially when in the game lobby it says that you have to have a mic to join, or the host says you are going to be required to have a mic. It's really annoying when we just want to have fun and join other players. That's what we want to do, is just enjoy it and have fun. But that biggest barrier there is communication still. And since many games always use audio cues and not really enough visual cues to help different players, games like Dead by Daylight rely heavily on sound cues. And it's hard for some deaf players to actually enjoy the game. When you play as the killer, you can actually hear survivors making noise while helping each other, uh, trying to help each other recover or fix generators, and a crow cawing when a survivor is near them so that you're able to find them. And while as a survivor, you have to keep your eye out for the killer if he starts coming close to you, but it's hard to hear the killer because I'm deaf and I couldn't hear him. I'm sure the deaf community has tried to enjoy this game and has sent feedback on ideas on how they could help, like the mobile version of this game having a heartbeat version. If you could create a visual cue of that heart beating when the killer isn't near, I think, it doesn't make any sense not to add that on. And then adding that on to a PC and console version. Fortnite Mobile had an indicator when you were near a loot box, and now it's been added to all the PC and consoles to make it more accessible for everyone. And that was a huge barrier when it comes to competitive play and casual play for recreation. I believe that most competitive mindsets can actually ruin the fun for a lot of disabled gamers and players because it limits what they can do. I feel at a disadvantage trying to play with other hardcore players. It tends to make them gatekeepers, telling us if we can't play it to go play something else. And, that's something that we've always struggled with when we are continuously asking for accessibility to be added into games. And so that's all for our panel. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll help us spread the word about being more inclusive. It's really to overlook gamers with disabilities and just assume that everyone isn't going to have any issues playing these games. And that's a problem. We have to be careful with how they advertise and choosing their words wisely. And that'll help a lot if they're able to share gaming information on what they're going to have to offer when it actually when they release the game. And that'll give gamers confidence knowing or not if they're going to be able to play it, so that they don't have to worry about losing money on the game. So communication is extremely important. gaming should be fun for everyone. We're getting close to 2022 here. And we can use resources to make games be more inclusive. The only way and the best way is to ask the disabled community to help with playtesting, design, features, feedback, or anything else that might be overlooked.
Hey, everyone, welcome back. All right, everyone come back. All right, we have Wendy and okay, great. Oh, it was a wonderful video. I watched it all and it was amazing. I think it covers so much. It has so many examples. It shows the feeling too, and you could actually see everything. And what Brandon said, it's almost 2022. Come on, we need more accessibility. I mean, we need to start spreading awareness. Did you have something that you wanted to add, Mary?
Chris here. Yes, sure. I saw some questions being asked. So let me look at that. So who in the gaming industry makes video games? So there's several different companies that actually make the games, like Sony, Nintendo, Xbox. There's several different companies, and some indies, which means like a studio. It's not, top of the line A game, but there are several different companies out there.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the next question right now that they're asking. It has to do with the Oculus. They want to know more about that. So I am going to let Mary make some comments and I'll turn it over to Wendy. Mary, do you mind sharing some information about the Oculus and some research that's been done with the Oculus?
Absolutely, I would love to. So just to read the question out, it was, I would love to learn about accessibility in VR, Oculus specifically, what is happening now and what's on the horizon. So I can give you an update of what we've done in the past year, which is probably the most recent kind of update that we've done publicly. So last year in November, we launched a pretty robust set of developer documentation that walks developers through how to design accessible games. We also released a video tutorial that walks through the concepts and kind of narrates it out in case the documentation is too much to sit through. And we also released a set of virtual reality requirements, which are basically a series of checks that developers have to either meet or are have to be made aware of before they can publish on the Quest, Rift, or Go store. So these checks are things like, does your game have subtitles? Does your game have color blindness settings? Is it playable from a seated position? Does your game, use certain visual cues and context cues? But these requirements were really put into place to make sure that we have a consistent level of standard of accessibility across our applications. Currently, they are recommended because we wanted to use this time as a runway so developers can learn how to implement them. And then we are planning on making these required across all applications in the near future. Other advancements that we've made at Oculus include system-level solutions for accessibility features like captioning, color blindness settings, locomotion settings, height settings, and more. We're working on a ton of different ways that we as a platform can take on the responsibility of creating these accessibility features into the hardware so that developers don't have to, find ways to make their game consistent with, other developers or other games. Like, we just have these available for them to use and plug into their games. In addition, we are exploring a lot of things right now and in the process of building out things that I'm really excited about, including using hand tracking to have conversion from ASL to or sign language in general to speech or text within the headset. We recently launched hand tracking a few updates ago, and we're really looking on how to most utilize that for deaf or hard of hearing gamers. And we have a plethora of other things as well that we're we're interested in exploring and providing solutions for. Some of these are how to provide, captioning for massive, multiplayer VR experiences where there's people standing right in front of you. How do you layer the captions when multiple people are talking at once from different directions? So we're exploring a lot of topics. There's a lot of interesting work going on.
May here. Wow. I'm seeing a whole slew of questions coming right now, but I want the audience to know we will get back to you. I would just like to have Wendy share her research and work before we proceed and let the audience ask more questions. Wendy?
Gamers are great, but don't forget other groups. So the entertainment centers, museums, science centers. So I'll give you one example. In 2017, I went to Copenhagen in Denmark, and there was an amusement park where you could put on a VR headset while you're on a roller coaster. And you have a headset on, and you're literally going up and down the roller coaster. You have no idea what's going on. That was a ride. And at the time it was inaccessible, which is understandable. But 4 years later, actually this week, there's a Van Gogh Museum, and there's a lot of different events that are going on in New York City. And they're providing VR experiences for specific exhibits. It's an immersive experience, but they don't provide captioning. It's just not there yet. And it's unfortunate. So I'm hoping to look forward in the future where this is going to be developed. My research is focusing on mixed reality, which means there's something that you can see through as well as you can see that augmented reality that's popping up on your screen. So let me give you an example. So I can see you all right now. So the goal with the research is to provide real-time captioning and real-time ASL interpreting through these glasses. So you could see them on the screen. So let's say you go to a planetarium and you're looking up at the stars at a science center. If an interpreter is in front of you while you're looking up at the stars on the ceiling and something's happening, you have to look down, look up, you're missing all of this information. So the goal is to remove all of these barriers where you're going, oh, I wasn't able to see that. And now you have the glasses on, you could see the interpreter signing as you're looking up at the stars through that augmented reality. And you're going to miss a lot less out of your life. So I have several students working with me this summer. They're extremely busy developing a lot of different approaches to address this issue. And it's not only with the mixed reality, like these glasses that I just showed you. We actually are having these students work on a HoloLens 2, and it's amazing. So you put it on, and you can actually move things that's around in your virtual space. Again, it's completely accessible. And that's something that we all together have to work hard towards.
May here. Wow, that's definitely next level generation stuff. Now that we're moving more to holographic and seeing all these different technologies come up, that's amazing. So we've got more questions, but I'm going to hold off on them because we've got several questions from the audience. So someone has asked, I'm curious if you're aware of what the percentage is of video games that are inaccessible versus accessible. Does anyone know the answer to that?
So right now, I would assume, oh, it's definitely not 50-50. But I know that there's some gaming companies that are trying to improve. I've worked with some gaming companies out there who have already they're already reaching out to different disability communities, asking for feedback, asking how to make certain things happen. And they want to understand so they can move forward and make some of these things happen. And I would say one of the best gaming companies that just made me feel so invested, they're called The Last of Us 2. that game, I feel so engaged, The Last of Us 2, because there's so many options for accessibility features. So they have features for people who are deaf, who are have vision, low vision. And so there's a lot of things that are going on. It's the first game that I've ever seen that has all of the options that are out there. I would say there was a couple that had some, and I honestly understand that some of the times they don't have enough time to put all of these in. And most of the time, especially with game design, this is the last thing that people consider instead of integrating it throughout the whole design process. And things are changing now. So this is the first time that game designers are starting with this at top of mind when they're going through the design process instead of thinking about it last minute and sticking it in. So it's really nice to see the gaming industry slowly. I mean, it's catching up. It's slow. And again, I don't know, I couldn't give you a number as far as the percentages go.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, most games are not accessible. Yeah, it's moving, but it's just, yeah, it's not there yet.
So one of the themes that I've been seeing reoccur this week is that we need to design it from the beginning, not as an afterthought. And I'm glad you mentioned that it needs to be part of the design from the beginning, and we'd see much more of an impact, much more potential from the beginning. So the next question I have here, let's see. So someone asked, are some games more accessible? And Chris, you just mentioned a game. Wendy, you want to mention something?
Yeah, I want to add another example when it comes to that word accessibility. You can have something that's partially accessible, or you can have something that's completely accessible. And there's a big range that falls in that gamut. So when you say accessible, we don't know where they land. And so how you define accessibility is the question. And that's something that I want everyone to think about. There's one company, it's actually a group called Owl Survey, that made a game called The Vatican. And that game is more of a journey experience. And it's where it's subtitled. And they did include deaf and hard of hearing people in the process. And so I have to give some credit to them for being inclusive. And this was a couple of years ago that they did this. But again, it's a lot more work is needed to be done.
Yeah, I was actually,
So next question.
oh, sorry. I just wanted to hop in and say I also recommend Alchemy as well. Is one of the most accessible VR game developers out there in the industry right now. They do a ton of user testing really early on with groups that require accessibility features, and so their games like Vacation Simulator or Job Simulator include VR superpowers where they really allow folks who need certain accessibility features to have kind of like a more fulfilling experience with these VR games than other games in general. I really enjoy their work as well.
Thank you. So we've got another question here. Someone asked, in regard to the FCC filing, I'm not sure if this is applicable to y'all, if y'all have had any experiences filing to the FCC. No, we can move down to the next question, unless Wendy, you have something?
Well, this is Wendy. I can say something. When you file with the FCC, you have to keep in mind everything that impacts whatever relates with public accommodations. So whatever prevents accommodations, you file it with them and they'll put it into action. So anything regarding that barrier or something that's preventing that experience that you're having in a public place. So for example, I just mentioned the museum experience in New York City. That's something that we have to put ourselves forward and keep letting people know that there are barriers. And then they should be letting us know that they're going to put something in action.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to move down to the next question. It's a good question. What advice do you have for young deaf gamers who are wanting to immerse themselves and develop their gaming careers? What advice would you have for them?
Who's this question for? I'm sorry, I missed.
Anyone. whoever feels comfortable answering it. Yeah, Wendy, sure.
Sure, I have some students who are working with me, and there's 4 different paths right now that they're in. So one of them is the mobile application development, and then the other one is human-centered computing, robotics, and another one's software development, and then the other one is computer science. And all of them, all those majors are provided at NTID RIT. And a lot of the students are very into gaming and developing apps. I'm very excited about this. And all of them, we offer an AOS degree all the way up to a master's degree. And there's even several PhD students, deaf and hard of hearing students, who are in the program, and they're working towards getting their PhD soon. We're all looking forward to it.
Wow, that's amazing. Anyone else want to add any advice you wanted to put out there before we move on to the next question? Mari?
Sure, yeah. As a game producer, I found the thing that's really been the most helpful for me in my games career has been understanding that I bring a unique perspective to the teams that I'm on that most other people aren't able to bring. And as a young deaf gaming professional, you can bring that perspective to those teams. There are teams that are starving for the perspective of someone who experiences these games in a different way, and you can give that by being a part of those teams, raising your voice, maybe cold emailing developers who make games that you enjoy and just saying, these are my thoughts on how you can improve your game, or being a part of their discords and being active and saying, these are the challenges I'm facing and this is how the game could be made better. I really just feel that if you can bring a really unique perspective that the gaming industry desperately needs. So please raise your voice, get involved in the discords, reach out to the developers, be active, and make sure that your voice is heard. And that will give you the kind of experience that you need to make your way in as a gaming professional in the industry.
Wow, that's good advice. Thank you. So I've got another question that's being asked here. If I am a newly deaf gamer, what console would you recommend?
I'll take this one. So growing up, I bought different kinds of games. So I have a PlayStation, and I have an Xbox, and I have a PC, and I have a Switch, Nintendo Switch. And really, there's so many different games out there. It really depends on what you enjoy. So if you want like something fun, maybe like Mario, that's a really popular one. It's been popular for a while now, since I was born. So it's really, there's a lot of different platforms. It depends on which way that you feel like you enjoy it. But one thing I do want to say is, even though there's people out there that say the PC master race is, that's really not true. It's not all about PCs, because all games have, they're all fun. You could play it on different things. If you play in a PC, there's more options. So you can modify, you could do mods in the game, and you could just make it more your game, your way, especially for accessibility features. So the abled gamers, they try to find some mods that help disabled gamers to be able to play specific games. So I like it. I like all of them. I mean, if you find something that you enjoy and you're interested in, try it. And if you're not sure, because you're still, it's the game, maybe it's not 100% accessibility for all people, you can just rent a game. Like Gamefly, you could just rent some games from there. You can check out their library. There's different ways you could do it. You could demo games too.
All right, so the next question is for Mari in regard to the Oculus. So they've said that I've been playing the Oculus Quest game, and something that I don't like is that it blocks my view while I'm playing the game when I have the headset on, and I don't feel safe with that. Do you have any development that allows the user to see what's actually going on without taking off their headset, the goggles on the headset?
Yeah, it's a
I,
great question.
I hope you understand the question. I don't have very much experience with it.
No worries at all. I totally understand. So I'm sure you can see around me, I have a ton of things in my space, including a dog. So I often have to think about the space around me as I'm playing my VR games. The things that we've built is we do have a pass-through mode where when you're wearing the headset and you get too close to a boundary, a virtual boundary that you've set as your play space, you're able to see, a camera into the room around you, and you're really able to actually see the space around you when you get too close to those boundaries, which is one helpful aspect. Another one is that boundary itself is a really great way to set up a space where you feel safe, so that the headset knows that when you get close to those boundaries, you are no longer in a safe space, and it can warn you. So currently, the way the Quest is set up is you have to outline an area, or you could play standing and stand in one space, but you have to outline your area that you have a free space. And then when you approach the boundaries of that area, you will see a red grid come up around you. And when you go past that red grid, instead of seeing the virtual world, you'll see the real world. The cameras will just show you what's actually around you, so you can actually see what you're doing. We have those, and I recommend that if you feel uncomfortable with the space around you, and you're still not sure if you're kind of hitting things. I know I can always get super wrapped up in games. What I like to do is find games that have a seated only mode or standing only mode, which means that you won't be moving around that space, and you can play everything from just where you're standing and either locomote through teleportation or just locomote with thumbstick instead of physically moving around. And you can find in the Oculus Store that there is a line in the page that will tell you whether or not a game can be played and seated only.
And that person just added on to that question saying, it's not just for safety, but me being deaf, I need to see my surroundings for what's happening. And if, like the house is on fire, or if there's an argument going around, or if someone's coming onto my space. But the next question being asked here is, I'm curious if there's any award recognition for games in the industry that have gone above and beyond for accessibility at a high quality level, and have a criteria system to give out awards for games accessible for people with disabilities that you're aware of. Chris?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's an official awards, but it's me and Brandon, we did, start doing a video game award, but it was based on the options in the game. So it was something called, it was the Video Game Award hosted by a man named Jeff Kennedy. And it's a show that they put on. And I was really wondering about what was going on, because it was focused on disabled gamers. And I was telling Brandon, I said, hey, why don't we do something like this? Because they didn't focus on disabled gamers. And he said, sure, why not? Because we don't see a lot out there that's related to accessibility awards. Not that much these days. So that's why I was thinking at the end of the year, you could do a game award show before the new year. So we were thinking, hey, maybe this recent year that just happened, were there any accessibility awards? Are there any award winners and things like that? So we'll do it again before the end of this year. And yeah, I might still have a YouTube link for the last one, so I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and I was just about to ask if there's a website where you're posting these videos so that people can come in and watch them.
Yeah, I've been starting to use my YouTube channel more often these days, but I usually use Twitter mainly for all of my stuff that I post. So I'll post things on Twitter. I post things about what I'm working on or videos. That's sometimes where I stream my games. I stream my games on a website called Twitch. So I just put all my gaming experience as a deaf gamer on there.
Yeah, so we'll definitely get your Twitter handle and share that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so next question here. All right, so the next question from the audience is, I'm curious if there's a game out there that is directed towards senior citizens 55 and above, and if you have any recommendations for games for people who are older. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it could be most most games are for all ages. So I would say they're all, it depends on, there's different skill levels. They all have different motivations or goals behind the game. So it's best if you just pick a game that fits their goals and their needs.
Yeah, and Chris here, I just want to add to that. You're right. You're exactly right, because most games now offer difficulty options. And there's, one called story mode, which means it's not super difficult. You don't have to worry about the uh, uh, action hardness that's going to cause you to struggle. Um, it's more for the story and enjoying that more so.
All right. So I know you were just talking about senior citizens. We're going to shift to what the next person asked. They said, do you have any game recommendations for people who are new, maybe inexperienced in the gaming world and want to start getting into games? Again, I think just like you said, there's probably a range. It depends on your interest, what motivates you. And once you identify those, you can look for it and find what fits.
Yeah, I would say there's the sky's your limit. There's no limit. Try something you like, check it out. Start off with maybe some YouTube gameplay, watch and see what kind of game it is. If you like it, try it out. So I use YouTube most of the time just to make sure it has subtitles in the game, which means I can actually check out the game and play it. Yeah. So if you see something you like, try it out.
All right, I'm going to move on to, just give me a moment here. Someone wrote in the comments, it's related to what Wendy said and the planetarium.
Yes, the planetarium.
So I'll let you read that comment a little bit later. Let me go down here. No, there's another question. I'm trying to find it. Seems like I can't find it. All right, well, can everyone tell me your favorite game and what game you hate the most?
Who wants to go first here? Okay, well, I would say no. Mari, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. You
Okay,
go.
okay. So I would say one of the games that I tried really hard to like was Dark Souls. Dark Souls. That game is extremely challenging. I like the concept of it, but it's hard for me to really get into it. So that's one that, I don't mean I hate it, but it's just like, I feel like it's a barrier for me. And then one of my favorites, um, I would say 80% of the games, just widely. Here I'm seeing a comment, Red Dead Redemption. That's a good game. It's a cowboy game. I really like that. I like most fighting games. So you can see on my shirt, it says Combo Breaker. I like games that are more tournament style. And I got this game, a shirt in a tournament in Chicago, actually. Mari raised her hand. She wanted to make a comment as well. Go ahead.
Sure. I actually really love the game Hitman, which actually has a lot of accessibility features that I didn't expect when I first played the game. The game has this one feature that I really love where you can turn on like kind of like this, assassin mode where the whole world is grayed out and you can focus on the key characters that you are, meant to assassinate, as well as the secret places that you can go. And for someone like me who has difficulty parsing, a lot of movement and a lot of things at the same time, having that mode is really helpful and allows me to slowly, plan out and go through the game as I'd like. So I feel like that's probably my favorite experience so far.
Okay, we've got so many more questions here and we're running out of time. I just want to let the panel have an opportunity to share any last words before we wrap up the session. Yeah, Wendy, go ahead.
This is Wendy. I actually post in the chat my contact information. You can contact me anytime. I have to admit, I'm not good at watching and signing and typing at the same time. So you can understand why I may not answer some of them. But I want to say an important thing to mention is that when we look forward in the future, they're going to have 360 immersive experiences where you can look all around you. And if there's 2 or 3 people that are standing in your 360 immersive experience space, most people are going to be able to hear all the people that are in that space. But as a deaf person, you're not going to be able to know where those people are standing in that 360 immersive experience. So there's a group of people who are working hard to develop some recommendations for this type of approach. For example, you can show an arrow, and that way you know to look over. By the time you actually look over, they might have finished their conversation and another person starting a conversation behind you. Let's say there's 3 people behind you. You're going to have to glance over trying to figure out which one's having that conversation. So W3C is an international level standardized organization that's working on the development of guidelines for a specific group called immersive captions. And what we're doing, people from Gallaudet University, RIT, Facebook, Google, we're all involved in that discussion to make this 360-degree immersive experience accessible to everybody. And that's one of the many things that we're doing together. So, but thank you for having me here.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us. Mari, Chris, any last comments before we wrap up?
Sure. Yeah. If you're a game developer, I highly recommend, you play through your experience with the sound off, you play through your experience only seated, you play through with, color turned off and in a monochromatic scale, play through all these different ways. And if you find that you can't play your games with these settings, then you need to make changes and make your game more accessible. If you're a player and, you're interested in getting involved in games and making games more accessible, raise your voice, because we definitely want to hear from you, and we definitely want to make sure that you have a good experience in the games. Again, if there's an issue where you're unable to play a game, it's not you, it's the game developer's responsibility to make that into a better game and to take these considerations. So raise your voice, and if you're a developer, consider everyone.
Sure, absolutely. Chris, any last remarks? Chris here. Yeah, I just wanted to add, don't be afraid to use your voice, whether you're deaf or not. When we speak up, someone out there is going to recognize that and try and get in touch with you and try to help raise your voice as well. And that's going to help a lot, but it's not going to happen instantaneously. It's going to take time. I've been doing this for almost 7 years now, and nothing really happened until my 2nd year. So be patient and keep motivating yourself. We want to change this gaming industry. We want to make it more accessible for myself and our friends. And so it's important to try to keep an open mind and stay motivated. Be patient.
Thank you. Wow, this was a wonderful panel with so many questions. This is a hot topic, and I'm sure a lot of people are curious. And of course, in the future, we're going to be changing gaming and changing the experience. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experiences. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care, everyone.